Hello, my friends. Hello, hello, hello. It is Tuesday, odd day, Tuesday, December 31st, 2024, New Year's Eve day, or New Year's if you happen to be catching this the day after. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are doing Soul Map Live for 2025. Oh my goodness. Wow, look at y'all. It is lovely to see you here. Thank you for flexing with me. I'm feeling very much better. Thank you. I appreciate all the well wishes everyone sent. I got a torrent of texts and Facebook messages and emails. I appreciate it. Thank you so, so much. And I'm feeling much, much better. I have a wicked dry cough, so you might hear that some today. And a little bit of the nose thing still hanging out. But other than that, I am well on my way to being human again. Thank you. This is a big one. As you probably read, this is a big one. And if you follow astrology on the whole, not just here with me, but on the whole, you won't just be hearing that from Soul Map HQ. Everybody is talking about the importance, the magnitude, and I'm just going to say the substantial call to folks like you and me, because it's never been bigger in our lives. This is more than our time. I also want to say one thing before we dive in. In no way do I mean to minimize or skirt around the magnitude and the impact of the impending presidency of Trump. But it becomes vitally important. And as you hear live, you'll probably get a better idea of why I'm saying this. To not let that dominate our consciousness. Whether you live in, are a citizen of, or a neighbor of, or a neighboring country impacted by the United States of America. And I say that word very intentionally, to not allow it to dominate our consciousness. Because that's a big part of the thematic humana of 2025 and beyond, okay? And you might want to write that down. So you are going to hear me optimistic, because there's reason for optimism. You're going to hear me talk about opportunities because they exist. But in no way does that simultaneously minimize or skirt around the magnitude and importance of the impending presidency or the other hotspots of aggression around the world, because you may be joining from a place where those hotspots are active. Okay. Okay. Everybody hear that? Yeah. Okay. So I want you to know I'm going to be paying attention to what's on the screen, because and my notes. So if I don't make eye contact with you, it's not because I don't love you, it's because I don't want to miss anything. And I also want to remind you that at various points along the way, because we're going to be here for at least 90 minutes, I'm going to talk about the deeper story of 2025 and the 3-part series I'm going to be inviting you to throughout, because that matters too. If you're an agent of transformation, my friend, please, please, please consider putting yourself in there. And that's not because I'm trying to sell you something, it's because you need to know. And there's no way I could do any kind of justice to the deeper pieces and the practices I'm going to be introducing to support you as an agent of transformation, as a practitioner of transformation, in your work, in your life, etc. Okay? Okay. Anything I've missed, Erica, that I should be saying and I'm forgetting about?
I don't think so.
Thank you, ma'am. Alrighty, let's go. Ready? Erika. All right. So keep a lookout on Thursday, the 2nd of January, for your 2025 favored fields PDF we're polishing and live for 2025 replay. Okay, we are this close to a holiday, and I'm not going to ask Erica to do work on a holiday. Okay, so check both your email or our Facebook communities for those being published. Okay, and if you're listening to the replay or checking the notes now after the fact, never mind. Carry on, my friend Erika. So before we dive into the big, and I do mean big, backbeats of 2025, there's a handful of things very much worth keeping in mind. So we are gonna take the time to review them because they matter. And you'll hear me talk more about those mattering as we go throughout the year, but also in the series. So let's go. Next slide. We have entered whole new era territory. We're not approaching it anymore. We're squarely in it. And as I've been listening to my profession talk about all the things, I kept hearing Genesis moment, Zenith moment. And Genesis is a word you might want to go do a Google on, okay? Because understanding what that means could be important to hold it in your consciousness, okay? As a result, the astrology of 2025 is utterly unprecedented for a couple of reasons. And I'm going to give you this framework before we do the review and before we look at the big backbeats, the new ones, because the framework, so you understand the magnitude, important, okay? By the way, pause. If you have paper and pen, awesome. If you have paper, pen, and calendar on hand, awesome. If you don't, you might want to take a moment right now to go get those things, because otherwise just wait for the replay and dive in again and just let this kind of, it's like taking a shower, let it wash over you and then come back and review. Okay, next slide. Oh, so here's one of the reasons why astrology is unprecedented, why Genesis moment and other names. Okay, all the big outer planets, the ones that always throughout history coincide with massive societal and cultural shifts, here, there, and everywhere change signs. It's not uncommon for one to change signs a year, but all of them within 8 months of each other. And the first one being Pluto, our transformers, moving into Aquarius, no less. So these are the ones that are moving. Our transformer, our dream keeper, our inner guru, our fortune finder, and our benevolent rebel. Now, for those of you brand new, because I see some new names, hello. I took the liberty of changing the names of the planets for one particular reason. Often when we have a kind of familiarity with something, it's easier for us to hear the word and just kind of plow and not be in beginner's mind, we can be in with unconscious and unwitting assumption that we know all there is to know. So I took the liberty of creatively changing the names to give us cause to pause, because that prompt to just plow on will interfere now more than ever. So, you know, that's why. There are other reasons, but that's why. Okay, here are the dates of the shifts. Now, we do know that Pluto already changed, but when we look at the degree of change and within what time frame it's happening, 8 months. 8 months. And the others, the other 4, are happening after Pluto shifted into Aquarius. And that is the umbrella under which the shifts and impressions and influences of the other 4 are kind of falling under. And that's important to know too. Here's the thing. Next slide. There's a nodal shift that's happening between Pluto's move in November and the next one, okay? And that is having a big sway too, because the North Node, the mastery end, is going into new mastery, going into Pisces, okay? And the south end, the place where we're attempting to release something. So we bring the developed mastery from that area with us without the drive to go back to it and stay there for comfort. Okay? When we feel insecure, when we feel rattled, we're going to dive into that a little bit more. But this is a big deal too, because Pisces is about developing spiritual mastery. That's an important element for folks like you and me. Big deal. New elements of spiritual mastery. And that's a big, big deal. Next slide. 3, there is a whole lot of 29th degree. So every chunk, every one of the 12 signs in the zodiac has 30 degrees. When we're working the 29th, 30th degree, that's when we are attempting to bring to completion that stage of work and development. Okay? We're trying to close a chapter. So we're completing a cycle, a sign cycle. Then there's a lot of first degree, beginning a cycle, also in the mix, because these big signs are changing to a new sign. We're moving from finishing a cycle to starting a cycle 5 times with the big ones. That's almost unheard of. In fact, you'll hear later, it is unheard of. In 2 cases, 1, 2, that first degree energy is in Aries, the first sign of the zodiac. So not only are we beginning new sign cycles, we're beginning 2 new zodiacal cycles going all the way around. Okay, more on what that means as we go. Next slide, please. 4th, the farthest planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, will become connected and work together through what's called a minor triangle, which is a rare and super powerful type of team up. Okay, and that's going to be effect the last 5 months of the year, a little bit on into the next year, and there's a peak, and we're going to want to know what that is. Okay, because this becomes very important given the tone of everything, etc., etc., etc. Okay, next slide, please. There's a whole bunch more rare and very potent societal change team ups. So if you're astrology savvy and you know what these terms mean, cool. So there are sextiles, trines, but there's also conjunctions and squares and opposition, like all that stuff going on in series in some cases, and that matters. There's just no way I could cover them all. But here's the thing to know. It's these team ups and the gobsmacking deeper currents in them combined with everything else that made me know I had to create and offer the 3-part deeper story of 2025 series, because they're going to be affecting us. And given that we are, as a community, aware that we are agents of transformation, not only are we devoted to our own process, but to being of service in the world, this is like beyond need to know. Because there's just no way in a live, even though it's 90 minutes, to do justice to it. First, I'd overwhelm the living daylights out of you, and we'd be here for hours. So we're going to talk more about that as we go too. Next slide, please. We're going to do this in quarters, and hang on, go back to the previous slide for a minute, Erica. Isn't Erica's slides gorgeous, folks? By the way, such great work. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Erica and Jody, who's our graphic beauty artist here. I want you to know, those 5 big planets, the big outer ones that see and sponsor all societal change, all cultural change. I had to go back and back and back and back to find the last time, which was 1,000 years. But it has never happened while the first of the 5 to move was Pluto shifting into the humanitarian Aquarius. And I mean that. I researched for months and have not found it anywhere. And I checked with others who practice astrology and they couldn't find it either. As far as we know, this has never happened before. Okay? So to some degree, when I say the word unprecedented, and I know that word's been thrown around a lot in the last year or more, it applies because we've never been here before. Okay? That's both thrilling and daunting, but we need to know that. Okay? Some of why that matters is because you're going to hear me say repeatedly, not just today, but throughout the year, there's a great deal of uncertainty, and there's good reason for that. A, we've never been here before, and B, because if there was certainty, we would have a stronger chance, and not to our advantage, of perpetuating what came before. When we are in territory we've never been in before, we have no real alternative but to attempt to bring forward that within us we've never had to before, to find truly new ways of approach, of thought, of liberated sensibility, etc., etc. Okay? So even though this is going to be uncomfortable, as it is also extraordinarily optimistic because it calls out the deeper and the truer from all of us. Now, there's going to be many who are going to flip, whether they know they are or not. And we have to be a counter to that. And you'll hear me talk about that throughout live too, and the series. That's why part of the why the series. Okay, next slide, please. We've never been here before. Because there's so much kicking off and going on, and will be for a good long while, it just made sense to frame and track things thematically and by quarters. So here's the themes. Q1, the retrograde quarter, with Mars, which is already retrograde, and Venus coming into retrograde later, because they tell a piece of this story and it becomes an important thing to understand. So, because some of us work with this, and I want to make sure you know about that so you can take it into your practices and into your work. Q2, okay? Everybody know what Q1, Q2, Q3 is? I'm going to check the chat real quick. I don't see anything. Okay, so I'm assuming that you know what that is, okay? So Q2 is the change quarter, because that's when multiple big outer planets shift signs, all righty? Q3 is the minor triangle quarter, where the rare triangle that I talked about earlier, where that collab peaks, and that matters. And then Q4 is the water trine quarter, when Jupiter in watery Cancer teams up with Saturn and Neptune, our inner guru and our dream keeper. And that really matters. Now, I'm not going to talk a whole lot about Q4 right now because no space, no time. That's going to go into, you're welcome, Peggy. I love it too. It really, really helped. I wrestled with this until I broke it apart into quarters. And because the narrative builds quarter to quarter to quarter, the narrative of Q1 prepares the way for and prompts the unfolding of Q2, et cetera, et cetera. It becomes part of the unfolding narrative, okay? It's an interconnected, synergistic narrative for the year and beyond. So we're not just talking about 2025, we're talking about a couple of years. Now, here's the other piece. The story is also when we have to participate in as called for it to unfold and start to make sense. Remember I talked about uncertainty, there's absence of clarity in some places. We really, really, really have to be working with our interior and our intuition to move in the direction of call so that we can help the unfolding happen the way it needs to. One of the things you'll hear me say, and the folks in the current and my coaching clients, they hear me say this a lot. The divine is begging for us to partner more deeply with it because we are an intrinsic part of what's happening. The understanding that divine doesn't really need it, it's going to do whatever it's going to do. And you'll hear more about that as we go too. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, let's kick things off by reviewing the big backbeats already in effect. All right, it's time now we have that framework, that understanding. Let's go. Next slide, please. Okay, our curative effect, Chiron, working through Aries. The call to reclaim our power and story through active healing. Now, I'm going to tell you personally, this is the one I've been leaning into all year. Because I knew, because of this, that reclaiming my ability to be in power, and I don't mean power over, to be in my capacity to powerfully author my own story was going to be key. Because it's right at the beginning. We're going to talk a lot more about Chiron working through Aries throughout the year, but I wanted to really hit this one because my friends, boy, has taking this seriously in my personal work and healing mattered. If you have not been, if you remember this from last year or you're brand new and you hadn't heard this before, please make it priority. If you're a member of the current, we'll be doing that together, okay? It moved into Aries in 2019. It's going to stay until 2027, so we got 2 more years, and that's to our advantage. You'll understand more about why that is as we go. The call to actively heal while reclaiming our creative power from whatever hold pain, trauma, disease, and faulty narratives may have on us. Now, this call goes out to everyone. Because this is a collective call, people like you and I are hearing it more clearly, but there is from a great many who are not accustomed to consciousness practices, don't even know what they are. And they are reactive to this. We've been seeing it in the headlines, okay? The more you lean into this, the more we lean into this, the more we act as balance to that. We're going to talk about that more in the series, and not kidding. The return to or creation of healthy boundaries and personal storytelling and living. You're going to hear me say this often over the course of the next couple of years. We live the stories we tell, even if we don't realize we're telling a story. We live the stories we tell. And we live them not just by, writing it down or telling it in the head, but in how we behave, whether or not we have boundaries, where we do, where we don't, how well we're doing, et cetera, okay? Whether or not we say to ourselves we have power to meet what's challenging us as individuals, us as a collective, et cetera, okay? The urgent call to cultivate self-possession and self-possessed action regardless of circumstances. Now, this has been beaming out to us in 2019. 5 years. That's not an accident. Not a coincidence. And we got 2 more years and more reason than ever. So note, pay attention to the innovations in healing to date. This has sponsored, poked at. Get it? The resistances to healing to date. And pay attention to the upcoming changes in healing that this and all the other big changes will bring. Because, again, interactivity, interweaving, okay? Big deal. Now, notice that this is in the sign of Aries. Aries has a very important role in the larger story of the year, and we're going to pay attention to that, so I'll revisit that in a bit. Next slide, please. Our dream keeper, otherwise known as Neptune, working through Pisces. This is the call to higher purpose. This has been going out to us since 2011 and stays until a next sign preview period. So this will move and stay for a while, giving us a preview, and then it's going to come back to Pisces so we can finish things up. Things that We haven't quite gotten to things that we did, but it wasn't really all that tidy. And we've got some, things to I's to dot, T's to cross, etc. This has been sending out the call to higher purpose, meaning an active right use of our genius. Okay? It has been amplifying the need and desire to be mindful and build capacity to be present. And it has been building the call to care for and about water and climate. Okay, because this has been around since 2011, it's become just the water we swim in. And we might not be noticing it much at this point because it's been a good chunk of time. When this shifts, and we're going to talk about the shift in a couple of minutes, when this shifts, we are going to feel it. Okay? Really feel it. And it's a preview. So keep that in mind. We'll talk about it. Note also the innovations in calling and purpose work, our understanding of them, our approach to them, our resistances to them to date. So since 2011, and there's been major innovation and flocking since 2011, if you think about it. Upcoming changes as the shift to the next big cycle approaches. We're going to talk about that, the date of shift in a couple of minutes, but just pay attention to the upcoming changes because that'll matter at the beginning of the year, as we get closer, and then as the preview window closes and we move back into Pisces for a bit. Next slide, please. Our benevolent rebel, otherwise known as Uranus, working through Taurus. The call to stable from the ground up change. Now this is, oh my goodness, it's been speaking to us since 2019 from Taurus, and he's going to stay there until the next sign preview again in 2025. Remember, all the big planets move. He intends to help us remake our relationships with governance, systems of money and finance, and our generalized access to both. Now, think about what's happened this past year. Now, those of you who were disturbed, as I was, just being honest, about the results of the election in the United States, I want to say two things. One, he's as unconventional as they come, and our benevolent rebel Uranus is all about unconventionality. He's doing things in a way we've never seen. Now, most of us don't like him, but okay. Unconventional within the framework and history of the United States. There are elements within that unconventionality that horrify a great many people. But he is absolutely and without question affording not just the people of the United States, but the whole world an opportunity to assess founding structure, principles, and whether or not they are effective today. Where is there a status quo we're challenging? And would we be challenging it if he had not been elected? Don't get me wrong. I'm not a fan. And the systems of money and finance thing, that's been in the air for quite some time, but not like this. Now, there's another focus on change making in terms of human rights. And that's been big too. Note, the unconventional don't tell me what to do shifts in the above to date around the world, and that's including aggressive hotspots. Pay attention too to the upcoming changes as the shift to the next cycle approaches. Again, preview, and then, yeah, you'll get a better sense as we go. But this is a big deal. And again, because this has been around 4 or 5 years, we've kind of become accustomed to it, swimming in the water. So we don't really notice it. But boy, when this changes, we're going to notice. Okay? Next slide, please. November the 19th, 2024. Our transformer Pluto shifted into Aquarius, where it will stay and work hard for us till 2044, kicking off a historic 20-year cycle It hasn't happened since the 1770s, almost 9 generations. Now hang with me because this has a number of slides. We're gonna dive deep here because it matters. The universal spirit of transformation, life, death, and rebirth calls for profound societal and cultural change. Now here's the thing I want you to remember. There are places and spaces where change needs to occur that we would not ourselves as humans opt to have significant change, because we feel that those things are absolutely fundamentally necessary. And in our proxy's wisdom, so things are going to shift. Things must die so rebirth can occur. For those of us who know ourselves to be agents of transformation, this is a call to come to the front of the line. And it's also, it's simultaneous a and a oh shit. And that was made very clear to a great many people in November of 2024. Because a whole lot of folks and their aspirations politically, particularly in the United States, didn't come to pass because something else needed to happen. And I don't say that, remember I said, I'm not trying to minimize or skirt around the impact. I'm really not. But we have to pay attention to whether or not that dominates our sense of the possible and our consciousness, our ability to be present and to continue to be creatively empowered. Because we're the ones who move to the front of the line. Next slide, please. Let's dive deeper. So I want you to note that May 4th till October the 13th, our transformer will have their first retrograde while working through Aquarius, which is when we're going to be reconsidering what power is, particularly as a community, as a people, a nation, and as a species. That's the big revisit. There's a lot more to it than that, and we'll talk about that more both in the series and when we get closer to the retrograde itself. But I just want you to know that at the front end, probably every year for a couple of years, we're going to be asking ourselves big questions about power. And we're going to be examining where our sense of power is caught and all tied up, and how to help ourselves go about reclaiming and integrating that. Okay, here's the key things of note for folks like us. And I'm underline, underscore, talking about this forever. You might get annoyed, but bear with me. Transformation of the transformation field, holy moly. Get ready, y'all. It's going to require us to be in the body or bring about or adopt and fold into and integrate into our daily or weekly practices, being in the body, or therapies that involve somatic work, being in the body. And I'll tell you one of the big reasons why is because Aquarius as an air sign will have us attempt to live transformation from about here up. That won't work. So it becomes vitally important that we occupy practices that bring us into and deepen our presence in the body, and that we are the ones others can reliably come to, so that they're not up here or they're less up here. Okay, presence, self-possession, and sovereignty practices, and again, not from here up, but whole person. The realizations and insights about the process of transformation itself gonna come fast, especially these next couple of years. So do whatever you can to prepare yourself. And there is going to be innovation like mad in the field of transformation. But you have to help yourself be coming from all of this, not just here. There's a call to thought leadership that's going to be nutso. And unless you and I are practicing bringing our whole selves into things, it'll be thought leadership, and it won't be as effective as we need it to be, because it'll just be here. Okay? Agents and facilitators of transformation must become more comfortable with and lean into their own transformation. Okay? Okay. Next slide, please. Breathtaking and rapid changes in the following fields will be coming from this: activism and human rights, holy moly, futurism. Now think about this: futurism that comes from grounding in the human, fuller human healed presence. So we're not living in the future, we are intuitively visioning that future from a grounded, whole, healthier, you get it. Technology in the online world, oh my goodness, AI, AI, AI. And the more you resist that, the less open to what your wisdom and soul wants to transmit to you, so you can be of service as this is happening, because it's going to happen. There's no stopping it. But how we can contribute to it, that's another thing. Electric and alternative vehicle, energy vehicle boom, oh my goodness. Info sharing, quantum leaps. And we've been through a quantum leap in the last 20, 25 years. Nothing compared to what's coming. New electronic currency develops and economic framework changes around that. Creatives, IP versus AI, there's going to be sweeping negotiations, deals, legal developments of all kinds with this one. Okay, holy moly. So if you consider yourself an artist of any kind, a writer, a painter, you know what I'm talking about. That one's speaking to you. Next slide, please. Tidal wave of new genres in creative work, things that we can't even imagine at the moment. Storytelling, 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 narrative for the greater good, communication, communication, communication. Oh my goodness. And that gets added to by the other big changes that are coming. Media transformation, literacy training, disruptions of dominance. Remember, we started to not allow what happened politically, what will be happening politically, to dominate in here. Okay. Disruptions of dominance can mean a lot of things. Critical thinking training, self-possession, sovereignty, shared sovereignty, redefining power, over versus with. Okay. Leadership, 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 transcendent leadership, everyday hero or heroine to leader. We're going to be seeing it. Some of us might be this. Okay. And any place in you that goes about leading, go explore. Next slide, please. Ethical stands that allow us to forge new or strange alliances, local and international. And that speaks to us too. Think about AI as just one example. Pharmaceutical, medical, and wellness innovations. Beauty, longevity, anti-aging, self-care. Okay? I want you to remember, we have a nodal shift working Pisces at the north end. Imagine spiritually insightful, spiritually oriented, spiritually led anti-aging. Longevity. Beauty. Fashion conscience. So materials, sourcing, production, marketing, the whole schlemiel. The development of a fashion conscience, the whole field. Communal innovations. Sharing is more than caring. And that's a big bucket too. Reimagining public spaces and societal beliefs and habits. Are you guys hearing favored fields? Micro and macro co-living community and changes in real estate and development. Excuse me, to boot. Sorry, folks. Okay. Next slide, please. Multi-use space innovation, resource sharing, communities. And I mean this, multi-use space. I'm also going to say multi-use resources. Okay? Just, oh my goodness. And that will bring about challenges to the notion of ownership and me versus we. And we've got a lot to grow into. Local groups, creative solutions, inspired by global innovations and global concerns being inspired by local innovations, like just, whoa, circle. Wow. Handcrafted and artisanal or recycled goods, there's going to be an increasing demand. Third space boom. If you don't know what that is, write it down, go Google after we're finished, especially in colleges and university, but not exclusively. I've already been seeing some of this and the hunger for them, particularly in a handful of people that I personally work with, a hunger for third space, a need for third space, and maybe even the dawning recognition that they may be called to create or foster third space. Conscious coupling and uncoupling, conscious communing, okay, conscious relating. There's a number of people in this community whose work involves relationship. Oh, I'm talking to you. Sustainability and wealth building utterly transformed from a grow to a what? Hang on, what's the impact? And a shift in business models. Okay, next slide, please. Things to watch for: economy changeability, and things are just going to be in flux. There's going to be, in fact, it's already started, a doomsday boom, kind of like Y2K or the Mayan calendar willies, but bigger. This notion that, you know, we're walking towards a cliff and that dominating our consciousness. And without our recognition, even for those of us who practice, to be living in anxiety and fear. And practicing in a way that the intention is to feel it less, not address it and depose it as the leader in our conscious orientation. Okay? Traditional values decline, but there's going to be continued polarization first. Okay? Democracy under attack or evolving. Weird weather patterns. We've already seen some of that, specifically in 2024. School protests. We haven't seen anything yet. Water wrestling. And then refugee and immigration reckoning. Now, for those of you who are members of this community who recognize themselves to be immigrants, their families to be quote unquote immigrants. If you are people of color, if you are members of the LGBTQ community, Q+, pardon me, this speaks directly to you. Just want you to know. No big surprise to you, but this speaks directly to you. And for those of us who are not members of those communities, we need to stand with those communities. This is a call to us for them. We're going to be talking an awful lot throughout the year, but particularly in the series about internalized, systemic, holy mackerel. Because those are the things that we need to help ourselves find and root out. Okay, next slide. So that was Pluto, our transformer, working hard. Will be for a while, but that's the umbrella under which everything else, and all of it's big, is falling. Our action instinct, Mars, is retrograde currently in Leo, and then will move further back in retrograde to Cancer. And this becomes incredibly important because this started after our transformer went into Aquarius. It is the call to revisit and reconsider the framework of identity and its expression, as well as the competition, domination, and warring instinct that's been at the heart of human societies forever. It intends to help us see the relational harm dysfunction here does, particularly to self-possession and authentic expression and home and hearth. And when I say home and hearth, because that's the Cancer part, I'm speaking about a couple of things. One, what actually happens in the home, but what happens in the home of a nation, what happens in the home or planet, but also what happens with respect to home and hearth keepers in traditional sense. And by that, I mean the feminine. And I mean the feminine principle as well as the gender feminine, or anything that's representative of the feminine to the masculine. Okay? Competition, domination, warring. This retrograde sparks the beginning of a year-long exploration. Take a deep breath, and no ranting in the chat, folks. Please. The wounded and lost male, and the need to tend to it so that the narrative can unfold differently. Now, to a degree, I'm talking about the wounded and lost male in terms of it being manifested in the physical representation that is male. But I'm also talking about the internalized male that is wounded and lost. Patriarchy, supremacy, all those things have had effect on us. And not just in this lifetime, but over generations. And we've inherited that. We bring it with us. So this speaks to everyone, period. And the degree to which we need to tend to that is amplified. It was set off almost immediately after Pluto shifted into Aquarius. Now, the retrograde began December 6th of this year, one day left, and it will continue until January the 6th. You like the coincidental nature of that date, folks? Particularly those who live in the United States, until December 6, 2025. And then it goes further back and begins to work in Cancer until the 23rd of February, 2025. And so the tone of it, the vibe of it, the call to look shifts. And that's the home and hearth part. Now, watch for signs of the Q1 theme, because this is what kicks that off. So it started before Q1 actually began, but boy, did it kick off the Q1 vibe hard, okay? It's a big deal. It's a very big deal. And again, it is the anchor of the unfolding narrative, the unfolding interconnected narrative of the entire year and beyond. Alrighty? Next slide, please. Here's the new backbeats. And we covered some of these, but there's a couple extras. One, the new nodal wa and the next Superfied Eclipse series. Our Charisma of Cause, Venus, goes retro, and that happens in March. Our Dreamkeeper, Neptune, shifts in March. Our Inner Guru, Saturn, shifts in May. Our Fortune Finder, Jupiter, shifts in June, Q2. Our Benevolent Rebel, Uranus, shifts in July. The Minor Triangle, Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus, that actually starts to be piggy in August. And then Mercury's 3 retrogrades throughout the year. And they're both in fire and water. And that matters too. And I'll tell you more about that why. God, I love this slide. Erica. Next slide, please. So let's talk about the nodal wa. In astrology, this is called the shift of the nodes. But the weight and substance of this is big. That's why I renamed it the nodal wa. So the node shift, so this diagram helps you understand. It's not a planet, it's a point of intersection between the moon's orbit and the plane of the ecliptic, the plane that is around the Earth, okay? When those two intersect and they move every 18 months or so, we get a new intersection. And that intersection is an axis in the zodiac. This sign and its exact opposite form that axis. And so every 18 years ago, yes, my friend Kathleen, every 18 months or so, that shifts and becomes active and electrified by, okay, the eclipses. Now, the thing about this, just in terms of purpose and the work that I do, in terms of the soul map, this is one of the most vital pieces of indicator of purpose, mastery path orientation in the soul map. I mean, that's why I paid more attention to this for us, because holy mackerel, okay? It's one of the biggest and most accurate indicators of mastery path. And in the world of purpose, mastery path isn't even talked about. That was a term I came up with. I don't like the word mastery because it's got all kinds of connotations. I haven't come up with a better one. So for those of you impacted by the word, my apologies. I'm looking for another way to talk about it, but here I am. Next slide, please. The South Node. This is our, I got this down pat, comfort zone. It's what we came into life with, okay? Geniuses and karmic propensities. And by karmic propensities, I mean the things that we kind of drag with us lifetime to lifetime that aren't quite resolved, and things that we feel, maybe not consciously, but we feel insecure about. We either feel really, really solid about it, or we feel tremendously insecure and threatened, okay? And it's not known, it's way down deep. It's what we want to keep coming from without disruption. It's our inner status quo, what pulls us down and out of evolution and growth and this life's purposeful work. Alrighty? Yeah, next slide, please. The North Node is the call to our best destiny, our purpose, our evolutionary growth, and the path by which we leave or exit the fateful outcome of unresolved karma. So if we're attempting to work our way out of the hold of karmic propensities from the South Node, leaning into the North Node is, is the path out. Again, because they're opposites, they're along the same axis, the two signs. The energy of the North provides the path out of and resolution of the South Node. It tugs us into unfamiliar territory, often causing us to feel uneasy, anxious, and even existentially afraid. And while we instinctively know where and how it's asking us to go is really good for us, the inner terrain is strange, scary, even demanding, require we be fish out of water on the regular, something we don't really like to do. It is the antidote to being caught in our own inner status quo, and one of the key aspects that we talked about just a moment. That becomes important. I wanted to refresh us all about this, because we're not just talking about what it means for us as individuals now, because Pluto's now working through Aquarius and all the other stuff. This has more weight as a contributor, all right? And I wanted to make sure we covered this so you can hold that in your consciousness as we go forward. Next slide, please. Beginning the 11th of January, so not that far away, there's a new nodal wa and eclipse cycle, and it will be electrifying and working the Pisces Virgo axis. Pisces North Node, where we're going to develop new forms of spiritual mastery, and the Virgo axis, where we attempt to make ourselves perfect and impose order so we feel more secure. There's more, but you get the gist. It shows us where humanity is, whether we know it or not, where humanity is working and focusing all of the energy, and the two interconnected areas of life that indicates where there will be primed and amplified for evolution and growth. And will we be inclined to keep doing what we're comfortable with, even if digging in our existential heels? This becomes important for you and I to know as agents of transformation and as devotees to our practice, because this will be alive more than usual. You'll see it in your clients, you'll see it in your students, etc., etc. Okay? And you'll see it in yourself. Next slide, please. These are the details of what happens when the Virgo South Node is calling our name. And we want to go there because because there's going to be so much change and changeability, uncertainty. The more of us are going to want to go back here. And that becomes vitally important to understand, to recognize when it happens, so you can take a deep breath, go into your practices, and help yourself return to territory you're unfamiliar with. Okay? Oh my goodness. You might want to take a screenshot of this so you can stick this sucker up on the wall and revisit it whenever you need to. Now, this will be in the notes, but this as a visual and not just text on white paper might be more impactful. Next slide, please. The great news is the North Node entering Pisces means more folks from every walk of life are or will be called to serious spiritual exploration and the development of empathy, compassion, and the reality that we're all connected and part of a larger whole. Okay? Not a bad thing to be anchored in or called to during these times. The even better news is the more conscious, transformationally practiced, and self-regulated amongst us are those they'll be turning to for support. Now, you have to be doing your work. That's why, and that work needs to be stepped up. You'll understand more why as we go. And if November didn't shake you and help you realize that you needed to deepen your practices, don't worry, the days ahead will help you. Keep in mind, new places of undiscovered truth, unhealed pain will and must come up in us. So the call to deepen our transformational activities, practices, and walk our talk, super high. Now, I shared this with folks last year, the year before. So this is not really new to people who've been in the community a while, but up the notches, cuz, okay? Next slide, please. Growth, expansion, and mastery in Pisces. Oh my goodness. Okay. If you want support walking your way out of the Virgo South End comforts that we tend to go for, this is the way. It shows us the way to remedy, how to resolve the unresolvable, to move our way into progressive and evolving mastery, wisdom, self-possession, et cetera, while being maximally related and collaboratively building the common good. Here's the trick. And you probably know this, at least here, but to live it here, the Piscean way is not pointed or uber specific. It's oceanic, it's fluid, it's mysterious, and it is the place we must go to connect with what could be through me, for us. But it can be intimidating because it's not specific. You can't throw your arms around it or your head around it real easily or for some time. That's why I talked about 2024, the narrative unfolding so that things become clear. Part of that is this. It aims to help us evolve into the dynamic balance between dipping into the waters of caring possibility and the daily work of letting go of what interferes with the living manifesting of these possibilities. Next slide, please. 2025 has 4 eclipses, 3 Pisces North, Virgo South, and the final in the last nodal wa in Aries. Aries? You all hear that? More on this in the deeper story. Okay, so March 14th, 15th, depending on where you live in the world, full moon lunar eclipse, Virgo South node. Okay? Unhealthy, stale dated control patterns release is what's called for most. There's more to this, but that will give you a really good place to put your thumb. March 29th to the 30th, new supermoon, Aries North Node, solar eclipse, focused ambition. And it is the final prompt to mastery development before the Saturn-Neptune collaboration that happens when Neptune and Saturn in close proximity of each other do what? They shift from Pisces into Aries. Aries. Okay? Leaning into this eclipse in March, for folks like us, big deal. Remember our Chiron is in Aries? Yeah. September 7th and 8th, full supermoon, Pisces North Node, lunar eclipse. And it is the wise imagination and spiritual call to depth. More, but good gist. September 21st to 22nd, new moon, Virgo South Node, 29th degree. Remember we talked about the 1st and the 29th degree? Okay. Solar eclipse. So this is us working the tail end of Virgo work. It's intense. We want to release ourselves from perfectionism and the intention or the belief that we have to get life right, that there's a way to live things right. And the insistence on that triggers perfectionism and contains and limits us, harms us even. Okay. Oh my goodness. Now, this partnered with Pluto and Aquarius could bring about unprecedented solution breakthroughs, etc., etc. And if you have personal planets or angles within 1 or 2 degrees of an eclipse, so you got to look at your soul map close to these dates or at these dates. If you know how to cast a map or a birth chart with that date, you'll be able to see if you're within 1 or 2 degrees. Then that eclipse will influence you profoundly. And I'm going to be looking for that. If you're a member of the current, we're going to be watching that throughout the year. Okay. Okay. Next slide, please. March 1st till April the 2nd, our charisma of cause, Venus goes retrograde, begins in Aries, ends in Pisces. Oh my goodness. Interwoven, interconnected narrative. Venus retrogrades bring changes of heart and shifts in priority. Now, we're going to go much deeper into this in the series, but here's the gist. This becomes the evening star. When it goes retrograde, it echoes the Persephone myth, becomes the evening star and descends into the underworld, where it considers what matters most and goes through the process of reluctantly accepting rulership. Now, there's a lot of weirdness with the word rulership, so you got to untangle that too, but holy moly. And then the rise to morning star, when we must make up our mind, our heart on deeply important matters and rule as they speak to us. Okay. Now, this involves the feminine. Okay. And I don't mean gender. I mean the feminine principle, and as it's embodied in us, male, female, LGBTQ, wherever you happen to be on the spectrum. Okay. Big deal. This is part of that Q1 thing. Remember? Okay. Next slide, please. This will have us reimagining, rethinking, retooling, redesigning, etc., etc., etc. What it is to be ambition, what is rulership, what is attraction. That's a big one. We're going to be talking about that. What makes relationship healthy or work? How to go about creating and sustaining healthy life now? Money making, why, how, the approach, family, home life, child rearing, and what stays and what goes of tradition. Boy, oh boy. Post-marriage families, exes collaborating together, along with new terms for all of that. Holy moly, 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 moly. The mindful, secure, and healthily attached and evolving relationship where shared sovereignty is being developed or even recognized. Those of you who work in relationship, I have a couple of people very much in mind. This is speaking directly to you. What is the modern family? And much of that has been coming from 1 or 2 countries in particular, but we're going to be experiencing more of this coming from international expressions. Beyond the family, new roles, new arrangements. There's going to be, in fact, there's already started a surge in women's 4B self-determinism. And you might want to write that term down if you're like, what the hell's 4B? Go do a Google, okay? And it's very, very possible that there will be a mini baby boom late 2025 because of this retrograde. Okay, watch to see, but I would not be surprised. Next slide, please. Again, very much part of the Q1 theme, working with the reverb set off by our action instinct Mars, retrograde December through February in Leo, male expression in Cancer, effect on home, hearth, and the feminine. Okay, remember the wounded, lost male? This adds the call to reckon with that theme, but to reckon with it differently, or at least begin a reckoning. And if you're having a about men, start there. Okay, please. Connected to retrograde cycles of March and April 2017 and March and April 2009, because when Venus goes retrograde, when our charisma of cause goes retrograde, it has a cycle and it revisits the same area every 8 years. So in your life, this, you'll get clues, signals about what is asking for attention in 2 ways. One, revisit, kind of go back into what was happening during these periods, 2017 and 2009 in my life. All right. If you have planets and angles in late Pisces or early Aries, so you'd have to check your map, you'll notice recurring themes from those times. And I would, in particular, and I'm going to hear me say this a lot, look for where Pisces and Aries are in your map, because those are the areas of life where the action's going to unfold. Okay. And apply that to anything that I'm talking about. Check the sign and where it sits in your map. That's the area of life where this is going to be particularly alive for you. If there's planets or angles in those places, particularly in the late degrees of Pisces or early degrees of Aries, even more so. Okay, next slide, please. March the 30th, our dream keeper, Neptune, shifts into Aries. Sorry. We talked about this at the beginning. In Pisces, since 2012, it now begins a brand new 165-year zodiacal cycle. So you'll notice that the cycles here are massive. A couple hundred years, 1,000 years, etc., etc. It will remain working in Aries until 2038. And it's a big amplification added to the Pisces North Node, okay, and the Pluto and Aquarius shift call in spirituality, in medicine. We talked about medicine before, creativity in the arts, holy moly, and visioning. And along with the next iteration of what that word means and the next iteration of the world, the visioning of the world. And I'm not just saying that. I mean, we will be, because of this, asking ourselves, what vision do we as a species carry about where we're going as a world? And the reaction to that. Because there's an awful lot of isolationism showing up in reaction to this. And we're not even here yet. The vibes are already in the air. And there's people who are attempting to hold on to power and the old understanding of power, reacting to the initial vibes of this. Next slide, please. All right, we'll very shortly be joined at 1 degree. So remember, that's the beginning of a new zodiacal journey and all that implies. And again, we'll go dive deeper into that in the series because it matters. By our inner guru, Saturn, because Saturn's going to be shifting into Aries as well. Neptune will make Saturn more imaginative, and Saturn will make Neptune more grounded and down to earth, our dream keeper. Because living the core of our dream is, for humans, it's a challenge. How do you make the possible real? I mean, think about it. And that's not an empty question. These two working together, it's the odd couple of of astrology. And if you don't know what the odd couple is, Google. Yeah. These two partnered this coming year at this time. Boy, it matters. Its aim and its potential is the more successful bringing of visionary dreams into tangible, awe-inspiring reality. Okay? And again, I'm not kidding about that, but it's work. So, July the 4th, there's a retrograde. Begins in Aries, and it asks us to reconsider, reimagine what ambition can do. And there's a difference between egoic ambition and sacred ambition. And that will be in here too. You and I are going to know about that, but a lot of people won't. And then October 22nd, Neptune's retrograde takes it back into Pisces. So March 30th to October 22nd, we get a preview of what it will be like when our Dreamkeeper Neptune is working through Aries at the 1st degree, partnered with Saturn. And then it goes back until December the 10th. And it's still in Pisces because it's got to move forward back into Aries, and that'll happen in 2026. But during that back into Pisces retrograde, to reconsider and reimagine what compassionate vision might create. Now, here's the thing for folks like us. I want you to know it's very, very, very possible that many may begin to experience a dark night of the soul or spiritual crisis. No kidding. This could trigger that. Now, they may not raise their hand or start looking for help for a while, but this will kick it off. And you may need to be there to let them know you're there for them. And then the retrograde ends December 10th, and it continues to begin. It starts to move forward again. It won't firmly move back into Aries until 2026. We'll have the preview window. Okay. Next slide, please. May 25th, our inner guru Saturn shifts into Pisces. Oh my goodness. Okay. Joins our Dreamkeeper, etc. We'll spend several months collaborating at the 1st degree together to prep the field and powerfully activate key themes. Now, Neptune stays there for a good chunk of time. Our inner guru will only be there for a couple of years. Its orbit around, our, right? It moves faster. So it will be there for the preview window in 2025, then move back his retrograde, etc., in 2026 and stay there for a couple of years. Not as long as Neptune, but for a good chunk of time. So here are the themes: creative constraint and contraction, time and tradition, structure and the concrete, discipline, responsibility, ambition, authority, ownership, protection and control, legacy and permanence, business, enterprise, building, nations, cities, empires, companies, businesses, fortunes, maturity and age. Its pace and its speed is slow. And that will be a balancer. Many will resist to all the speed, the rest, okay? And it involves the creative masculine principle. This will also have a really significant interweaving effect on what we understand in common spiritual or new age understanding circles about things like creative constraint and contraction. Because many of us believe that contraction is bad, should not exist. It is evidence that we're doing things wrong. And Saturn, as the keeper of these things, goes, excuse me? They would not exist if they did not have purpose. So you might want to rethink that one. That's okay. Take your time. I'll be here. Okay. All right. Now, the other piece to keep in mind, this will help progressives. It will call progressives and aim to help us open to the value of tradition and the conservative. Just saying. Okay. It will challenge us. And there's good reason for the challenge. Next slide, please. This first degree and brand new zodiacal cycle will bring big, fresh questions, which will be stirring in us about what has created, maintained, and governed society and culture. So think male gaze, patriarchy, hetero, neuro, white norming, and us, and more. I mean, this, huge. Now, much of that stirring will not be conscious. It'll be down here, but it will be present. And we'll talk more about this in the deeper story of 2025. There's no way to even begin to do that justice in the midst of all of this, but I want you to know, and please sign up, okay? Next slide. On the 9th of June till June 30th, our fortune of June 30th of 2026, sorry, should have added that. June 9th, 2025 till June 30th, 2026. Can you make a note of that, Erica? We can change the notes. Our fortune finder, Jupiter, shifts into Cancer. Oh my God. Talk about bright, 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 bright. It in Cancer is exalted at peak strength and positive impact. Like Jupiter is yumina, 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 but here, okay? Double, triple focus on healthy growth, healthy comfort, and healthy prosperity. I'm going to dive into some of the deeper story stuff because I want you to carry this with you. Our fortune finder, Jupiter, oversees two wildly important things, among others, and there are others, but these ones, first, our beliefs, how we make sense of the world, okay? Because that's part of our fortune as we live. The world and our world. The world and our world. Our social circles, our neighborhood, the groups of people that define our sense of belonging. Okay, next slide. In other words, how we believe we fit or don't in the world, and who we believe fits or doesn't in the world. And whether we are open to the wealth that those people carry and is necessary to the healthy and fortunate function of the world. The impact of those things on the stories we believe, tell, live, and make real, also big part of this. So two types of Jupiterian considerations matter more than ever in 2025 and beyond, because this goes into 2026. Belonging, social aspirations, finding, convening, growing, and nourishing our tribe. Memberships, my friend, community, gathering, convening, supporting, serving. Oh my goodness, but just know that all this other stuff is at work, okay? The stories we tell and believe in, which control our ability to see and be present for and in real opportunities and manifest. So the stories we tell, the stories we believe in, and the stories we make manifest. Okay? And in general, this is just such an extraordinary wow in the middle of everything else that's going on in 2025, 26. This has me so excited, I can almost not sit still. Okay? This aims to be super helpful in the midst of everything else that's going on. Next slide, please. Historically, when our benevolent rebel shifts into Gemini, which it will do July 7th until 2032, it is felt with a bang. And I kind of pointed to this when we looked at it, where it's working right now and will be until July. This brings a dramatic sense of call to the unconventional, along with a now or never urgency and disruptive unpredictability. Now, I want us to underscore now or never urgency, in part because we need that, and in part because we have to deepen our practices so we remain regulated and capable of co-regulation, or more capable of coming back to regulation and co-regulation. Because if If we let this urgency drive us, we will not be able to be of service. This will also call you and I to be as fully unconventional as we were designed to be, which, remember the whole spiritual mastery call out because Pisces is north node along the nodal wall, eclipses, boom. Okay? To let ourselves. Next slide, please. This will trigger highly eventful innovations and rapid changes that challenges and even defies, as well as permanently alters the status quo. Internal status quo, nodal wall, and the external. So ideation and thought leadership, which I mentioned before, but not just from here, from us, got to come from deeper. Fame and celebrity, writing, authoring, and poetry, storytelling, all forms, journalism, and journalism as a whole, communication media, all forms, speaking, language and its development, learning, teaching, education, mediation, consulting, coaching. Ooh, if you consider yourself and know yourself to be a consultant or a coach or a teacher, facilitator. Sales and selling. Now, remember that this is working with other things that are calling us more deeply into self-possession, sovereignty, spiritual mastery. Selling and sales could change dramatically. Midlife, last chapter, blooming, nursing and wellness, and then career diversity, multi-role, multi-application, multi-field. You'll hear me talk more about this. It's also in the PDF that we're going to be publishing on Thursday about favorite fields. It's a big deal. Check your map for the location of Gemini because it's in that area of your life you're going to see personal developments most. Okay? I know I said it before, I'm going to say it again, but please pay attention to this. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, oh my goodness. Next slide, please. August till December, minor triangle. Remember Pluto, Neptune, Uranus? Let me say a little bit more about this. We'll explore this much more deeply in the series. The minor triangle is a rare and dynamically powerful configuration that involves, and again, this is for the astro-curious. Blow this off if, like, don't let it have your mind go nuts. Neptune sextiling with Uranus and Pluto. At the same time, Uranus and Pluto trine. You kind of got to be astrologically in the know to get what that means. Here's the thing that's really important for folks like you and I. The power and energy in this triangle, in this configuration, is focused through our dream keeper, Neptune, who's working in Aries. Our transformer, Pluto, and our benevolent rebel, Uranus, both in air signs, act as supporting pillars and facilitators of that focused energy coming through our dream keeper. What's that mean? Okay. Favorably for months fuels the birth of a new human age via Aries, vision held and represented by our dream keeper, who is essentially deeply spiritual, okay, and compassionate, empathetic, connected to the all. Its potential is a new understanding of life, creation, the divine, even the very concept of existence itself. And we're going to talk about that with another thing, but we're not going to talk about it till the series because it was just way too big to put in here. And then 3, all this in concert with breakthroughs through information communication technology and even AI. Okay. Here's the one thing I want you to know. So in addition to the south node of the nodal wall being the place we go to for, I know this, I feel comfortable here, I feel shaken and insecure, you know, a little bit threatened, so I'm just gonna come from here. Same thing can happen when we meet this call from our dream keeper, because it's also the keeper or the overseer of dysfunctional response, which is illusion, fantasy, escapism, and addiction. And I want us to be honest about that piece of things. All of this, yamana, 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 and because there's so much uncertainty, and because this is expressing through the first degree of Aries, and because we're wrestling with our own internalized dysfunctional masculine, which has been kind of calling the shots since the beginning of humanity, this is a big deal. And we are going to have to hold it with and for the people we serve. And we're going to have to be leaning into it ourselves. But look at those points, what it offers us. Keep your eye on that. Okay. Next slide, please. Fire and water. Our communication savant, Mercury, goes retrograde 3 times. Now, why? I'm not going to go too deeply into what the retrogrades means. We're going to be covering that over the course of the year. If you're in the current, we'll do that a little bit earlier, but here's the thing to know. Why I'm emphasizing fire and water. Fire is the creative impulse, and it is the element that Aries inhabits and works through. So every time a retrograde of Mercury, communication, among other things, goes into a retrograde in or through fire, whether it's all fire or whether it starts or ends in fire, it will go zzz with all the other Arian activity. We're going to be reviewing, rethinking, reimagining, reengineering the way in which we communicate, the way in which we are communicated to, the story we're living inside and collectively under the way we've lived fire and the Aryan principle. Okay? So, retrograde 1. Water, let me just finish that. Water is the echo of the Pisces and Cancer. Yamana, yamana. Come back to what we know most deeply. And you got to let go of a lot of this to do that. Deepening our practices, bringing ourselves back to spiritual practice and principle. That's why this matters. Weaving into the larger narrative. Quarter by quarter by quarter. Okay? So the first retrograde, those are the dates. And I included the pre-retrograde shadow and the post-retrograde shadow because I figured we'd want to know about those. Keep this in mind. You want to be observing these when you are planning to communicate because this could interfere. And this year, the interference could be in your favor because disruptions, that's kind of the name of the game. But in order to work well with those disruptions and use them as creative, dynamically creative, powerful potential, you got to be doing your work. Otherwise, okay? And you'll know better during the pre-retrograde shadow how that's going. I also wanted you to have these days so you can plan. Next slide, please. Retrograde number 2. Pre-retrograde shadow starts in June and it starts in fire. Ends in fire. This one, and because it's Leo, it involves expression, authentic expression. Think about all the other things that are being called forward this year. Worth knowing. Good question, Melissa. And that's up to our practice. And sometimes ash, think about the Phoenix myth. Sometimes some of us are actually meant to go down the road of ash so that we can be, and our work can be, or the stories can be reborn. And there's great power there. Next slide, please. Retrograde number 3 starts in October with the pre-retrograde shadow in water. Truth-telling water. Oof. This is also the one that will have us reckon with our relationship with the power of communication. In post-retrograde shadow in December, the retrograde itself starts in Sagittarius. That implies the necessity of going to search for or deepen our understanding of the truth we carry. and are supposed to communicate, however we're meant to communicate that. And whether or not we are in touch with that or have sourced within ourselves and are able to embody and then communicate from the power that's supposed to run through our life, and or whether we're still trying to reckon with power. This is the one I'm going to be paying most attention to, although the one in the summertime in July. Okay. Next slide, please. So that concludes, how are we doing? 2:32, 2 minutes over. Sorry, folks. Next slide for February 2025. You can tell there was no way I could put January in here. If you're a member of the current, we'll be talking about January next week. But right now, for the regular community, we're looking at February 2025, Thursday, January 23rd, at our usual times. In the meantime, I want you to pay most attention to the things that begin in January that we've talked about here. That's going to matter most right now. Next slide, please. Okay. Special 3-part series, the deeper story of 2025 and beyond. Okay. I hope you now have a sense of why this got great. Again, there's so much more to know. Plus, there's shifts and moves and series of interactions that are so needed to know. $70 for full access to all 3 parts live and their replays. $70 through January the 12th, 2025. It will be $100 after that. Okay, so that $70 is the early bird price, essentially. And the regular price will be $100 after the 12th of January. So you've got a couple of weeks to make up your mind. That's the link where you can go and review why this, okay? If you're an annual member of the current, the Deeper Stories series is part of your membership, so don't purchase it, okay? Please don't. If you're a monthly member of the current, your 40% off applies. Reach out to Erica. She'll take care of you, okay? Now, tomorrow's a holiday, so reach out today or come back on Thursday, alrighty? If you have questions, pop them into an email or a Facebook message, or put them into the Facebook group for live and leave them there, okay? I hope I've made clear that there's just so much to the year, and that there's much, much, much more to know, especially for us as agents of transformation and as devotees to practice. But if there's something lingering in the back of your mind and you need to know that after you've taken a look at this invitation page, please do reach out. Now, I'm going to be off tomorrow, so I won't speak tomorrow. And I probably won't today, but I'll be back at it, taking a look at things on Thursday. Okay? Okay. Next slide, please. So, Karen, this slide coincides with your, oh my God, I'm super overwhelmed. I understand. Karen, question for today, super overwhelmed. Any tips on where to focus if we feel wildly overwhelmed? Yes, your practices of regulation. Because overwhelm is 2 things. One, I'm trying to hold it all and bumping up against the idea that there's too much for you to powerfully be with. Like, I don't have any power over this. And that will affect your nervous system. That will kick you out of regulation. So the best way for you to help yourself with that is go involve yourself with your regulation practices so you can return to center of gravity. And then come back to this. Take a deep breath and come back to this. Does that help you, Karen? You're welcome, Peggy. Thank you. Yes, it does? Okay, great. Great, great, great. And please join us for the series, because there's some tips and stuff, practices there that will help you. Alrighty? This was a lot of information in 90 minutes. It is. Because we're talking about a whole year and we're talking about beyond, and we're talking about huge things. So it's not a surprise the fact that people may be feeling overwhelmed and unregulated is actually a good and necessary thing, because it helps people like us go, oh, I really do need to deepen my practices. Oh, okay, got it. Those of us in the field, from all vantage points, all directions, all approaches, we're going to be bumping into this a lot. In fact, the people who in our field have kind of lived in, I got it covered. I'm pretty good. I'm solid. I'm done. They are going to find this year, especially the first 6 months, bumpy. Because the bumps are to help them recognize that they're not solid now. They're not done. Does that make sense? It's not because we're trying to give ourselves a hard time. We're trying to wake ourselves to the next level and deepening call to work. Okay? Yeah. You're welcome, Melissa. And yes, holy moly. Anybody else got a question or a share or anything else that they would like to review? Oh, Alex has her hand raised. Alex, I would love to hear what your question is. It would just be nice to hear your voice.
Hi, thank
Hi.
you. Actually, I think it's more of a comment that I have Aquarius as my sun sign,
Mm-hmm.
and you were mentioning about, you know, being as unconventional as you can be. And, I was born in the mid 1960s.
Yes, ma'am.
So the whole idea of the age of Aquarius has been something I've pretty much been waiting for my whole life,
Yes.
because I always feel like the weird one, like I don't,
Yep.
there's something wrong with me. I don't fit in. And you were
Yep.
saying about being unconventional as so I feel like now all of that is now becoming useful, that because I'm so familiar with that energy.
Yeah.
And, whenever I would say that, like, I'm weird or there's something wrong with me, I don't fit in, my husband always used to say that there's nothing wrong with you. It's just that the rest of the world hasn't caught up yet. And so, as I'm listening to this, I'm feeling like I can just sort of see him laughing and saying, "You see, I told you." The world is finally
Oh my
catching up.
God, Alex, I feel you, woman. Wow. Yes. And for you in particular, I would pay close attention to the Neptune and Saturn partnership, the preview that they're going to be doing for us, because it will speak to you. It will speak to you.
Yeah, that one popped out when you were talking about it.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I gotta,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
the
Okay.
odd couple.
Yes, ma'am. And the balancing act, the dynamic flux between, you know, concreteness and out there-ness under the auspice of Aquarius. I mean, whoa, my goodness, it will talk to you. Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome. I'm so glad you're here. And yeah, thank you for sharing. Thank you. Thank you. There's a lot of Aquarian sisters here. Hello. Hello. I see you. Helena, you're so welcome. I'm excited and cautiously hopeful too. I mean, what's ahead of us? What we're already in. It's not for the faint of heart. And whoa, what lies at the heart of the human beings who gather in this community, our hopes, our visions, our dreams. And it's not going to happen overnight. We've got work to do. We have work to do. But we can do it together. We can deepen our understanding of the context and the motions and the nuances. And the call to ghost to meet urgency with regulation, to meet urgency and say yes to it, and go as slow as attentiveness and deliberativeness requires. Like it is. This is what we were born for, folks. Seriously. No matter where your family hails from originally, where you live now, this is what we were all born for. Okay? Keep that in your heart. Please. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Faye said, I need to listen to this again. Woman, I hear that too. I needed to be with this month to month to month to month so I could absorb it all. And I'm still in the process of this is a lot. And please put yourself in the series. Please. There's more. And it really is need to know. Okay. Yes, Buena. It's assuring to know that I've been doing the prep work for this. Amen to that. Amen to that. Okay. Erica, let me know. Melissa, you've had your hand up. Thank you. Thank you so much for your being patient. I hadn't seen it. You had a question?
Not so much question. Thank you for this and the series to come.
You're welcome.
What is sticking out for me is ash or alchemy.
Yeah.
I'm going to be working with, I just felt that.
Yep.
If we don't master the magic of this, it is going to be tough. On all levels, from the environment to politics to all of it.
All of it, because that's what's up.
Yep. But I have been harping for 40 years at least, in the pagan community especially, about the reinvention of testosterone. To basically say, we can't write, the goddess isn't wrong. You don't write off half the human race because some of them are not behaving well and the other ones don't know how to behave.
Well, and we who lean in the direction of the feminine have to take a deeper look at the internalized masculine, especially now, because this isn't just about the guys or how they're reacting to all this now. This is about the masculine.
Absolutely. I wasn't speaking, it's in inner and outer.
Yep.
But it's also about what is warriorship if you take away the guns? How are we, because strong masculine men are amazing. And I've known really the best feminist men around. And we need more of that. And the dialogue. Anyway, I'm very excited about this because it's fallen on deaf ears for a long time. But now I'll go pull those articles out again and start bringing this up, because as a young woman, this, I play here.
Right.
I only work with men.
Right.
Mostly.
Right. I want to suggest, given what you just said, Melissa, go search, and maybe you've already done this. And if you have, and you already have, sources, forgive me and just write off what I'm about to say. But there are some men in social media who are doing extraordinary work modeling this you're talking about. And it might be important for you to familiarize yourself. And if you want a couple of tips, a couple of links or suggestions, I'd be happy to offer them to you. Or
I would love them, because I don't
so I will do
world.
that. I will start posting some of them, not right away. It'll probably be next week, but I'll post them in our group space, because there's some energy. It's been around a bit and it's just going to build. And that might be good to familiarize yourself with too, because to know that it hasn't fallen on the deaf ears completely, Melissa, might be a salve to you. And that becomes important given all this fire.
Well, I work really closely with Chip Connolly anyway, and a few others, and who are just amazing men.
Okay. So, I love to hear that. That's awesome. Thank you, Melissa.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I hope you're going to come to the series.
Are you kidding? You couldn't keep me away. I'm going to sign up right now.
Okay, good. I'm so glad to hear that, Melissa. I was hoping that would be the case, because girl, we need you there. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Sylvia, I understand you raised your hand too. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Aquarian sister.
I know. I just wanted to say you've given a whole nother layer of context to what I've been experiencing in terms of what I can only describe as this very unusual, unconventional re-entry of coming back from down under.
Yeah, I wondered about that.
Yeah. I can, I mean, you've just sort of shown a light on other aspects of it. I've been getting the sense of it has been emerging as I emerge from the shifts, but what you've described here in terms of what's coming, I feel like the ancestors there stepped me right into it.
Not surprised to hear that, Sylvia, and thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I hope you're coming to the series, my friend.
Absolutely.
Well, we need you there too. Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
I'll hear you there. Thank you. Anybody else have a share or a question? You can pop it in the chat if you'd rather not turn your microphone on. Whatever works for you, please let me know. Otherwise, we're going to call it a day. Okay, I think that means we're done. Before we open up the mic so we can say goodbye to each other, I just want to send out a special thank you to Erica. I'm sorry, Erica. And folks, the level of comprehensiveness that was possible in this 90-minute presentation, the preparation for it would not be possible without Erica and her attentiveness, her deliberativeness, her Virgo-ness. Just so thankful to Erica for all her support, her effort, and her care. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Alrighty. So thankful. Yeah. Way to call out the internet. Sorry, man. Me too. And I hear you. And I just could not, because I couldn't do this without you. We could not do this without you. And that is worth saying. All right. I'm going to suggest you turn on your microphones so we can all say goodbye together. Okay. You ready? All right. Toggle your microphone on. I need to hear your voice, my friends. We all need to hear your voice. And I'm not just saying right now. I'm saying that in general. We need to hear your voice. Bye.
Happy New Year.
New Year.
New Year, everyone.
Year.
Thank you, Lisa.
Erica.
Happy New Year. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
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 Be strong.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.